They're coming across to take advantage of the programs that people like you support. I agree. Yes, they are doing that. I eliminate those. I punish them.
Which program?
I punish them. I say, get the fuck out of here. And we're kicking your families out. And if you do any crimes, we'll fucking punish you here first. And not some idea of just rehabilitation. We'll actually fucking punish you. You know, not pat them on the back like you want to do to child sex offenders. You had a point that you wanted to make here. We asked, why were things different under Obama?
Yeah, okay. So we're getting back to that. My understanding is that Trump gave a lot more leeway to ICE. I wouldn't be able to cite specific statutes or other things, but I think they know that under his administration, they're a lot less likely to be charged or
could it be that individual Democrat cities and states cooperated with Obama more than Trump?
It could also be the case. Absolutely.
Could it be that there's sanctuary policies where they refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, even with violent criminals in their jails, is what leads to actually having to send ICE out in the street?
Yeah. Do you think that
could it be that the policies that you've embraced, such as allowing tens of millions of people illegally into this country in a short time frame, policies that you would embrace, has led to an urgency to send more ICE officers out to do more?
Well, I would like to have a better immigration system where.
Do you want any of these people? Do you want any of these people deported that didn't commit, in your words, a quote violent crime?
No.
Okay, so these are policies you supported. Yes, I understand your argument. Actually, I'd like to do more for these illegals. Let's make them legal. I get it. That's your argument.
Well, no, that was not what I was going to say. What I was going to say was
let me before you say it, let's see if I'm clairvoyant enough to see it.
Go for it.
I would like to see our immigration system change to make it easier so people don't have to come in illegally and they can come in the proper way.
Absolutely, and that allows us to vet.
How did I know? Yes, your solution
because
is
I assume
people that are here illegally, they have no agency.
Positions.
They have no agency. They had no choice but to break the law because our system was such that it was hard for them to come in a different way. And so therefore I support them being able to stay here. But if I would say that mistakes were made, it's that we should have made it easier for them to come in the first place.
Well, I think hard is like an understatement in some of these cases. There's some countries that have like an 80-year waiting
I think list. Look, I don't give a fuck what you think about that. Don't give a shit.
All right. I feel like
why does that matter? What does it matter? Explain to me. Okay. So just to be clear, your argument is if the system is hard enough, then you support people breaking the law to come in.
I think, again, we're getting into like what I support, other than like what I acknowledge will happen when you set up a broken system.
We're talking oughts, not wills.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
So do you think they ought to break the law if the system's too hard for them to come in legally?
If I were in their position, right, and I had a reason to try to move my family into the United States because, let's say, the cartel was after me. Yes or no,
and then elaborate.
Okay, yeah, I would say yes, but because I worry you're going to interrupt me and not allow me to elaborate. That's why. If I had a family that I was concerned about their safety in the current country that I was in, and the only way into the United States where I knew my family and my children would be safer was to enter it illegally. And that's still putting them at risk because the ways that people get into this country illegally are very sketchy. People end up with the, I forget the people that guide them across, people that like take bribes, etc. Yeah, it's not a good situation. But if I felt that would put my family at in a safer position, absolutely, I would break the law to do that.
Okay. What if it doesn't? What if it's not? Is financial security part of safety?
It depends on where you live.
Let's say you live. What do you mean? It depends where you live.
I would say that
if I live in certain areas, I could be financially insecure, and it's not part of safety.
I would say if you live in a country that has a better social safety net system, being financially insecure is a lot less of a concern in terms of safety.
Okay, so if I'm broken homeless in Canada, then that's not a matter of safety. But if I'm broken homeless in Mexico, it is?
Well, I don't think being broken homeless in Canada would make you'd probably be better being there than being in the U.S. broken homeless.
Okay, but that's not the question. We said, is it a matter of safety? You said if it's a matter of family safety, then you should allow people to break the law in order to come into the United States. But that seems to be irrelevant because I think that anyone...
I did not say that. I
What
did
did you
not
say?
say that.
What did you
What
say?
I said was that if I was them, I would do the same.
So it's
I don't
morally
think they should be
justified.
allowed to.
Right. It's morally justified. Got it.
I said if I was them, I would do that to protect my family. Absolutely.
So then when I
would.
asked you, could you answer yes, no, and elaborate to the question of should they be allowed to come in? And you said yes, you're now acknowledging that your real answer was no, and you misled me by saying yes, which is why I asked for a yes or no, and you said, but I'm afraid you won't let me elaborate. So I said, go ahead. And you said yes, and then elaborated. So your real answer was no, and then elaborated.
Okay.
Why should I trust? Let me finish. Why should I trust what you're saying if you can't be forthright with me with your answers?
Because I think what you asked me was
I'm starting to wonder if you really are against the child sex offenders, if you're willing to lie to this level.
Come on, Rob. What you asked me, if I am remembering correctly, was whether I think it was justifiable for somebody to do that. And then obviously we got into the whole where I'm like, are you asking me personally or whether I think they should be? And you said,
let's get back to the question
what
about
I would
safety.
do, whether they're allowed to.
Let's get back to the question about safety.
Sure.
Why is it that, like, do you think my life expectancy goes down if I live in a country with a high social safety net, but I'm impoverished?
Do I think your life expectancy goes down
Correct.
if you live in a country with, as compared to what?
As compared to someone who lives in that same country that's not impoverished?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
So then you could say that poverty would be a matter of safety.
I think in the certain circumstance. So let's say I lived in that country and like I have a family member that needs a certain surgery or needs certain medical care that they won't be able to get in their country because they can't afford it. But I know if I go to other country that they can afford it, yeah, I would probably.
It's irrelevant to the question. It's relevant to the question. You've already conceded. Even in each individual country, your life expectancy goes up if you're not impoverished. Let's say I live in Sweden.
I'm trying to imagine what that would actually look like to rationalize.
Nonetheless, so then you could say, it's a matter of safety. If I could put myself in a predictable situation where I'm expected to live till 55 versus a situation where I'm expected to live till 67, wouldn't that be a matter of safety that you would say, fair enough, we understand why you'd want to put yourself in the position where you could live to 67?
Yeah, I don't think I would do that, though. In that scenario, I probably wouldn't.
I don't give a shit what you would do. We're talking about moral oughts, and I completely disagree.
But we actually it's pretty fair to put yourself in the position, is it not?
So we see actually two things. One, you're not consistent with your message if it's just about safety. Economic security is a matter of safety, even if you come from a country that's not impoverished itself. Secondly, even if we wouldn't accept that, we can see that you've just given the justification for huge swaths of country around the world to be able to immigrate to the United States because they don't feel safe. And so therefore, even if they come illegally, well, that's what you would do, correct?
Yeah, well, that's why I think it's a different
Should we
question.
prevent them as a matter of law?
Wait, can I just quickly go back to, I think putting myself in the position to look at it through a moral framework is the correct way to view a moral framework.
That's not it. When the question was specifically whether or not it would be justified for them to commit. For example, I could put myself in a moral framework for why someone might steal something, but that doesn't mean that it's justified.
Are you familiar with the Heinz dilemma? The classic, like, would you steal medication to save your wife if she's dying?
No.
And if so, like, how would you do it? Yada, yada, yada. You're answering no to this, or you're not familiar with it?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard that term. I understand the sort of.
We don't have to get sidetracked. In your own time, I would recommend checking it out. It's a cool dilemma. It's used to like evaluate.
Rachel Wilson wants to know if you think children can consent.
Rachel Wilson is asking me weird questions. No, I don't think children can consent. I assume the question is consent to having sex or something like that, which is gross. Absolutely not. Also, you know, I did, while Rachel Wilson is on the topic, somebody was asking me recently about Andrew, who I remember you talking to about, where he was justifying that men can rape their wives. Do you remember that?
I do. Now, before we get into that, I want you to remind everyone, say right here, I'm against punishment of child sex offender. Go ahead and say that.
I support removing them from society.
No. I want you to say, should they be punished?
Why?
You've consistently said no.
If you understand that that's what my actual take is, why are you trying to frame it and twist
punishment.
it? Because
you are against. Are you against punishment of child sex offenders?
Based on your definition of punishment, no, I'm not.
You're not against. Define punishment.
How I would define punishment?
Yes, you said based on my definition, you're against punishment of child sex offenders.
You described it as a restriction.
I want you to
rights.
defend. You're saying, you said, okay, you're against that. You say we shouldn't do that to child sex offenders. right?
No,
Now I'm
I
asking.
said we should restrict their rights.
I want you to
Absolutely.
defend. I want you to define punishment, and then tell me whether or not, based on that definition, child sex offenders should go through that.
My definition of punishment?
Mhm.
My definition of
Yes.
punishment, I would say, would be to physically cause a person suffering simply for the sake of well, and this is where it gets great, because I'm saying simply for the sake of personal satisfaction, right? Um, I don't think that should be the case. I think they should be removed. I think you should look at it of how we are improving the society. I think focusing on punishment, you can go very easily down the road of like burning people at the stake, torturing people. I don't think that's the direction we want to be going, and that's not the direction we've been going when we've been looking at our.
Can you show me
system.
any? Can you show me any definition whatsoever that says it's simply for personal satisfaction?
Oh wait, you want me to pull up a? Hang on.
I'm asking you. It seems like you have a it seems like you have a proprietary definition.
Maybe I'm using the word wrong. Maybe that's what's happening.
Imposition or penalty of a penalty or deprivation for wrongdoing. A penalty imposed for wrongdoing. Merriam-Webster would be suffering pain or loss that serves as retribution. A penalty inflicted on an offender.
I would disagree with for retribution. I think that's probably where I disagree. I'd agree with punishment for wrongdoing. I agree with the first definition. Absolutely. That's perfect. Yeah, do that.
Okay, so you're against suffering pain or loss for retribution. I think you're a fucking monster. So I'm not interested in hearing what you have to think about Andrew Wilson, you fucking child sex offender defender. Fuck you. Now, do you want to get back to what ought to happen? You're giving excuses for why illegals should be allowed to come into the country by scores of tens of millions. So as you deflected from it, what we'll get back to is when I asked you whether or not it was justified, and you waffled and said yes, and now we're saying really no. Should the United States enforce their border to make sure these people aren't coming in?
Should the United States enforce their border?
Correct.
I would say we should, but I think the focus should be more on vetting.
Okay, but once they get in, okay, so you think we should enforce border laws, but once they get in, we should not. That's your argument?
I think the issue is we on almost every topic that we run into tonight, I think you're looking at like what
I'm looking at an immoral piece of shit lefty that wants open borders, and I'm treating them as such.
You're looking at it as like what ought to happen versus what will happen, and I think I don't give a shit what you're saying.
Okay, if you bring in millions of illegals, then people will get pissed and they will beat them and they will arrest them and they'll throw them in jail. You have nothing to say about this, right?
Well, I don't. I mean, I
that
don't
will
think that
happen.
would be a good thing.
That will happen.
I disagree.
Are they being deported? Are they having violence enacted upon them?
Well, if you're deporting them, yeah, there's going to be violence.
Okay, so then it did happen, and it will happen, right? So why are you complaining? Yeah. If it's not a matter of oughts and it's just a matter of what will happen, okay, that will happen. People will push for their deportation. And why are you talking then? No, you're talking because you're saying, that's bad. I'd like to see that change. You're talking about oughts. So every time I ask you about oughts, you're like, I don't want to talk about oughts. I want to talk about is. And I'm like, fine, then let's talk about is. What's the point?
Let's talk about.
They're being deported. I'll continue to push for them to be deported, and you don't have shit to say about it because you're not caring about oughts, right?
I'd rather talk about is. Yeah, no, they are being deported.
Okay, then I have nothing to talk about. We could see is. We could read the fucking newspaper and see what is. I'm uninterested in talking to someone that's going to be unwilling to talk about what ought to be and just say, I have no interest in oughts. I'm only talking about what is or what will be. So fuck you. What will be is I'm going to push for more deportations, and I don't ever want to hear you complain. I'll say, why are you complaining? You're complaining about oughts. We don't care about oughts. We only complain about is. Why do you care? Why do you have any comment on this shooting today? What matters? What ought to have happened? What happened happened.
I'd like to talk to you about it.
I'm not interested. I only want to talk about is. Was he shot?
He was shot.
Okay, that's it. End of discussion. Right? We're just talking about ises, not oughts.
Is there an investigation? There is not. There's not.
How do you know? Will there be? Will there be?
I hope so.
What? No. What do you mean hope? Oughts not matter. Hope, that's a thing of ought. That's what you want. We don't give a fuck what you want. Will there be?
I think when you're talking about
I asked if there will be. We're not talking about wants or oughts. We're asking if there will be.
Rob, I think
I'm
when you're talking
asking
about,
you, I'm not interested in your oughts or wants. I'm interested if there will be. Now, if you want to say, okay, Rob, I get your point, talking about the oughts matters, then I would say thank you. That was the point I was getting to. But if you want to deflect from every time I ask you what ought to be to say, no, I'm just saying what will be, then fine, I'll play the same game. Interesting
you know what?
conversation, isn't it?
I will say it to you. I will say I think talking about the oughts do matter. I think
Thank
talking
you.
about the
Now,
oughts
ought,
without
ought.
wait,
So
can I
ought
can
we
I can
force
I
these
say the
people?
second part of
Great.
that or
No,
no?
I'm uninterested in the second part. Now that I got you to admit that oughts are important, fine.
Go for
Ought
it.
we enforce the border?
I think that there will be people coming
It's
in
not the
regardless.
question. I
I don't
said
think that that's
ought.
the focus.
Ought we
Yeah,
enforce the border?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. And what happens since you're saying we ought to keep illegals out once they make it in? Ought they be deported?
Did they commit violent crimes?
Let's say no. They just came in illegally.
I would say they should not be deported.
So your argument is we should prevent them from coming in illegally, but if they escape us and make it in, then we should not be allowed to remove them.
Yeah.
So what incentive did you just give to everyone?
The same incentive they already have. Just don't get caught when you're
Right,
inside.
because of
Is
people
this,
like
is the
you,
incentive
right?
that you're
Yes,
describing the
that's
incentive of
right.
come in, but just don't get caught.
That's right. You're exactly right. That is the current left-wing incentive. Yes,
The
that has
incentive
been
that
this.
I'm
That has been the
Rob,
status quo. We
the
elected a
incentive
guy.
that you're
I'll
given.
finish my point. We
Go
elected
for
a
it.
guy to change that. We elected a guy to say, no, now we're going to enforce the border. And if you come in, we're going to fucking remove you. So now the incentive is if you make it in here, you'll be punished. You say, no, we don't want that. We want them to
The
come
ins-
in and stay if
the
they make it in.
the incentive that I am giving, right, is in this scenario that they would come in and that they should try to not get caught and not abide or not break any
What? How are you giving
violent
that
federal
incentive?
crimes.
How
You're
are you
giving the
giving that
incentive
incentive?
to come in because I said to focus on specifically people that are
No. How are
committing
you
violent
giving
crimes.
an
You're
illegal
saying
an
target
incentive?
everyone.
How are you focusing on an illegal not having the incentive to get caught when you're saying, and if we do catch him, we should just say, oh well. How's the
Well,
incentive to not get caught?
then the incentive is to don't commit violent crimes. Your
Okay,
incentive is to just
so your argument
don't
is
get
this. I
caught, but you
just want
can
to be
commit
clear.
violent crimes.
I
It's
just
the
want
same
to frame
thing.
this. All right. Here's your argument. Right? I just want to frame this. We should have a border patrol, and they should be like, we're stopping this guy from getting in. We're stopping this. But as soon as they pop over the border, they're like, fuck. Now we're not allowed to do anything. We're not allowed to kick you out. That's your argument.
Yeah, if they haven't committed a violent crime yet.
You see why I don't take you
Rob,
seriously,
do you
Mr.
see
Child
what
sex
you-
offenders shouldn't
if
be
I do this-
punished? Do you
if
see?
I do
Do you
the
see
same
why
thing
no one?
back-
Do you see why I don't take you seriously? Now, why would I give
Rob.
a shit what your opinion on immigration enforcement is, and you thinking it's going too far? You don't think the minimum should be done.
Rob, if I do the same thing back, right? Because you're suggesting that they should come across, and it doesn't matter whether they commit violent crimes or not. They still face the same risk. So what's the concern?
The concern is don't come. I've incentivized them to not come. Period. The violent and the non-violent.
It's not
Why?
because they need to or they believe they need to for whatever reason.
Bullshit.
People are not just coming. Why do you think people are coming across the border? Why?
Well,
Let's talk about the
I
whys.
agree
think
that they're
that's
coming
important.
across to take advantage of the programs that people like you support. I agree. Yes, they are doing that. I eliminate those.
Which
I
programs?
punish them.
Which
I
programs?
punish them. I say, get the fuck out of here. And we're kicking your families out. And if you do any crimes, we'll fucking punish you here first. And not some idea of just rehabilitation. We'll actually fucking punish you. You know, not pat them on the back like you want to do to child sex offenders. We'll
Did you
actually
say
punish them.
IDF rehabilitation?
What's that?
I thought you said IDF rehabilitation.
No, I didn't say IDF.
No. Oh, you said idea of rehabilitation. Sorry, I misheard you. I thought we were tying in Israel for some reason.
I'm trying to protect our borders. You're saying, like, the idea that you're like, we're both equally incentivized. What am I incentivizing? If you get caught, we'll throw you back and we'll punish you for the crimes you've committed, right? And if you're with other people that are illegal, we're going to throw their ass back too, right? And we're going to strictly enforce the border. And you're like, well, we'll somewhat enforce the border, but as soon as you cross that line, well, now you're in, and there's nothing we could do to you. And you're like, both equal incentive. You're full of shit.
No, they're
not.
Not. They're not equal incentive.
Correct.
One, I'm suggesting that you should not. They would not commit violent crimes because they know that would put them at risk of deportation.
They won't commit violent crimes under me because they're gone.
Well, most of the people that are being deported. I I actually don't know. What percentage of them do you believe have committed violent crimes?
I don't care. 30, 40. They've all committed the crime of being here illegally.